Morning everyone. As per requests, I'm gonna make a drawstring rucksack. So when you receive your packs of material and drawstring, then you should be set to go. So I'm gonna go through what you need and then we'll go through what to do. So you can make your rucksack any size you like. These are two examples that I have. This one is a bit shorter and only has one drawstring down the side, if you can see that. And this one is a bit bigger and has two drawstrings either side, which will make it into a rucksack, so you can wear it on your back. So you can make them any size you like. This big one is 33 centimeters across by 45 high. When you cut out your material, you just need to allow a centimetre seam allowance on both sides and the bottom, and then 6 centimetres at the top, because you will be folding over this much to encase the drawstring. So here I have my material. I've got 2 pieces cut. When deciding on what size bag you're going to do, it may be dictated by the length of cord that you have. For each side that you want drawstring, you want to have the length of the width and the height of the bag double. So basically go twice around the top and then twice down the side on each side, or you can work out how much you need by going all the way around. Leave a little bit extra at the ends because the knot takes a bit of extra length. This material frays really badly, so I am going to zigzag stitch all the way around just to try and stop it fraying a little bit. I would have used my pinking shears on this, except that it's already quite a lot smaller than I would have liked, and if I cut it any further that'll just make it even smaller. So if you have some pinking shears, that will help. It might be worth, on very frayable material, using pinking shears to cut it out and then also zigzagging the edge. So I will zigzag the edges. I'm just going to choose zigzag stitch on a medium length to go all the way round. I've cut my 2 pieces of material and I've zigzagged all the way around both of them. I'm working a different colour thread just so that you can see what I'm doing. The next thing you need to do is cut 2 rectangles to make the tabs at the bottom. There are different ways of attaching the cord at the bottom of your bag, and this is one of the ways. So I've cut 2 rectangles that are roughly 6 centimetres by 8 centimetres. And what I'm going to do, I've cut them out with the pinking shears to hopefully avoid the fraying. I'm going to sew just down one edge on both of them to make long thin tubes. This is one way of attaching the drawstring at the bottom of the bag. Another way is, I am a great hoarder of things and I have some old key rings. You could sew these on the outside at the end when you've finished. If you've sewn them on really well and securely, then they will hold your drawstring. The other thing that I found are some, it's a bit random, but some of these little plastic rings, which are actually used for when you make a blind for the window. The string goes through these plastic bits, but you could use those if you sewed them on really securely by hand, then you could just thread the drawstring through it. However, I'm not expecting you to necessarily have the junk in your house that I have in mine. So I'm going to make these little rectangles into tubes which we will sew in, and then the drawstring can go through those. I'm just going to choose a straight stitch and using the backward and forward just under 1 centimetre away from the edge, because you don't want to make it too small. And here you could make these a different colour, or if you were going to put a pattern on your bag or embroider it, then you could make these the same colour as your embroidery. What I'm going to do now is turn these inside out, so that's why I didn't want to make them too narrow, because they're a bit fiddly to turn inside out. You can use a pencil or try it with a safety pin to turn these inside out. Just pushing the pencil, pushing one end through the other end basically. You can see that once you've got it through, it tends to slide down on its own. So there I've got 2 little tabs that I'm going to make into loops. What you want to do now is try and get the tabs to be as flat as possible. Fold them together so that the seam is on the inside in the middle. And this, if you have patterned material where there's a pattern on the outside, then make sure that this is inside out essentially. So I'm going to mark this as what will be the inside, and what I want is for the tabs to be on the outside right at the bottom, if you can see that. And so I will pin those in so that when I sew round the seam, I will be sewing those little tabs in just as they are. And the same on the other side, and placing it inside, which will be the outside. And so when I sew round, all the way round, they will just automatically be sewn in. And the next thing that I want to do is measure where I'm going to have the channel at the top to put the drawstring. So if you mark, I've got chalk. If you haven't got any chalk at home, but you have got children, you might have some Crayola washable pens. I've used those before. If you then wash them, it does come out. So I'm marking 1 centimetre, and then I'm marking another 5 centimetres, so that's at the 6 centimetre mark. And then again at the 9 centimetre mark. And whatever size bag you end up doing, these are probably the measurements that you want to use. So the 1 centimetre mark, 6 centimetre mark, so you're adding 5, and then at the 9 there's another 3. And what you want to do is between the 6 and the 9 centimetre mark is where the hole is going to go. So if you block that out, and then if you pin, start pinning right from the top, but miss out where the hole is going to go. You only want the drawstring in one side, then you only need to do this on one side. Or you could make 2 holes and then you can choose. Doesn't matter if you have an extra hole in. So I've pinned all the way round. I did move my little tabs up slightly because I don't want them to get caught in the seam. And I've pinned slightly differently where I'm wanting the hole to go, just so I definitely remember to make that hole. And now I'm going to sew all the way around, and I'm going to go forward and backward on the seams where the tabs are to make sure that they're sewn in securely, and I'll forward and backward a little bit extra on this area because that's where the cord is going to come out and needs to be secure there as well. So I'm just using a straight stitch again to medium length, and I'm going to forward and backward at the top, and I'm going about a centimetre away from the edge. And as soon as I get to my first mark, I'm going to go backward and forward, and then I'm going to lift it, snip it off, and then start again where my next mark is, again about a centimetre away from the edge. Go backwards over your little where you've put the tabs. When you get to the corner, leave the needle down and just pivot it round. And I can feel where the tab is, so I'm going to make sure I don't sew over that bit. And do the same all the way around. Again, stopping when you get to where your hole is going to be, and then starting again straight afterwards. Didn't do a forward backward on that bit. To make sure that is really secure. And then because you've done the forwards and backwards, you should just be able to trim the extra cotton off. It's also worth trimming the corners a little bit if you can. Just because when you poke the corners out, they'll come out more sharply. So hopefully when we turn it inside out, we will have two little loops at the bottom corners where we will be able to thread our drawstring cord through. And the thing that I want to do next is press the seam back on itself, and that just makes it a lot easier for seeing where the hole is and then where to sew it. So I'm just going to press out these seams where the hole is. Try not to press the rest of the material. It's a bit tricky, especially on a smaller bag. Same on the other side. So as long as you have ironed the seams flat past the hole, you should be good to go. What I want to do now is fold over the seam at the top about 1 centimetre. And we're folding it so that it's going to be on the inside. Seeing as I've got the iron on, I might as well iron it flat. When you come to the seams, make sure you iron those flat. And then I'm going to fold it down again, another 4 centimetres or so, and this should be on your marks. You can just about see my chalk mark still. So where the first chalk mark, where the hole was, I'm going to fold it over again, which is the top of the hole. So you're folding where the top of the hole is, and your other, where you folded for the mini seam, should be around about where the bottom of the hole is. And then I will pin. So I'll pin the 2 edges first to make sure that the holes are correct, in the correct places. So I've got the top of the hole and the bottom of the hole just here, and the seam just there. And once you've done the 2 sides, making sure that you've taken in the seam that you've made. So then I'm just going to sew where I've pinned. So I'm going to sew quite close to the edge because I don't want to block off any of the hole. So this might be one of the occasions where you want to take the toolbox off so that you've got a little bit more room to work, and put the whole bag round. Going to go over the seam twice, forwards and backwards, just to make sure that we've caught it all. So hopefully you can see I've not done a particularly good job because of the seams, but I've got my hole here and my hole here. You can either sew the loose threads back through, this is now the right side, or if you have a snag repair tool you can pull them through using that. They're great for if you've got a pull in a cardigan or a jumper. I've just pulled those through, and then I can tie them and snip them off. So if you push your corners out, make sure they're properly out. You can see we've got our 2 little tabs. So then what I want to do is thread my drawstring through. I've cheated slightly with this piece because I've had to tie a knot in it, because I just wanted to do it for show. So what you want to do is push it, and you can either tie a knot in it and thread the knot through, or use a safety pin, or you can wrap some sellotape around it to make it quite hard, and then that helps to push it through. So I've put it around one side, I'm just going to put it around the other. And then you do the same with the other end, but going in and out of the other side of the bag. There it comes. So then I'm just going to loop this through the bottom loop that I've made. Make sure you've pulled it quite so it's quite nice and flat, and then just tie a knot. I can never remember which way you go. Right over left and under, and then left over right and under, and that should make a strong knot. And then you can trim the edges off. I will do the same with this side. Pop it through this loop. Pull it really tight. If the loops were big enough, like with this side, you could put both of the pieces of drawstring through and then tie a knot that will stop it going through our loop that we've made. And that's another way of doing it. Let me just trim this. There you have drawstring bag. There you have your drawstring bag, ready to go on your back.